Hello guys, welcome back to Blue and Watch channel. And guys, today I'm very excited to present to you my new watch that I just acquired. This is the IWC Mark 18. In my opinion, one of the most iconic model that is released by IWC. This one has a very rich history, guys. The first IWC, the heritage is very rich in pilot aviation industry. So they were the one of the first few companies that supply pilot watches for British Air Force. Back in 1936, they supply a big pilot watch to the British Air Force, and then after that, 12 years after that, they follow up with the Mark series, which is smaller. So this one in front of us here, we have the Mark 18 that was released back in 2016. And this is the sixth generation. The first generation was released back in 1948. 12 years after they released the big pilot and supplied to the British Air Force. And then after 1948, that was the first Mark series, the Mark series 11. And then after that, in 1994, they follow up with the second generation, the second series. So they relaunched the series. So the second generation was called Mark 12, and that was in 1994. And then after that, the third generation, Mark 15, in 1999. And then after that, the fourth generation, Mark 16, in 2006. And then after that, the fifth generation in 2012, called Mark 17, and this one, and then after that it's this one, Mark 16, in 2016. So this is the sixth generation. I don't know if IWC will update the Mark series, if they will come up with a new one. Maybe because this one has been running for what now, 5 years, maybe next year or next 2 years. We're not sure, maybe they will come up with Mark 19, who knows. But what I can tell you is that from Mark 11, from 1948 to now, the design has been consistent. So this watch, this is why I'm saying, like, this one is very, very iconic design, one of the iconic models from IWC, because the design, if you trace it back to 1948, the design is relatively the same. So there's not much changes on the dial. It's just a very, very simple and plain and legible, but very highly legible dial, which is very, very nice. And so yeah, guys, let's get down to the review. But before that, I want to ask you if you like watches. This is my channel where I document my journey in horology, and I also have a lot of other hobbies. Like sometimes I review other things like jewelry, coins, but watches is definitely one of my one of my hobbies, like the one that I really I'm very, very passionate about. So yeah, guys, all the watches that I review in my channel all belong to me, and I have direct experience with the watch. So it's not something that has been loaned or I get it from boutique. And then no, that's something that I buy with my own money, and I find, I share with you my experience with them. So yeah, guys, so let's get down to the review. If you like watches, go ahead and subscribe and click like button. That will be greatly appreciated. Okay, so we already touched on the little bit of history about the Mark series from IWC, and so let's go over the dial. The dial, guys, is very, very simple. I would say people who don't really like watches, they look at this watch, they'll be like, oh man, the dial is very, to people who just basically glance over it, they probably will see the dial a bit too sterile. Nothing special, it's just a very, very simple dial. You have like IWC logo here, and then after that, all the hour markers. But very, very nice contrast, because here what I have here is black dial. IWC released 3 dials for this model. So they have blue dial, the petite prince, and then after the silver dial, and then the black dial. I like the conventional, the traditional black dial. The silver dial is quite lovely too, but I think yeah, I just cannot find a good deal on this one. So on that one, so I finally opt for this one, the black dial, which I think is more subdued. And yeah, so very nice contrast, because all the hour markers in white, but we have a black dial. So the contrast is very nice, very legible, which I consider to be one of the strongest points for this watch, is that it's very legible. So even though this watch doesn't come with strong lume whatsoever, guys, the lume is very pathetic, is poor. But then because the legibility is very good, I can tell you, like, I don't have hard time reading the time when I'm indoor, with a dim light, or when I go to like cinema, watching movies. I don't have a problem because it's just very legible. I mean, this white hour marker is just very easy to read, even in the dark. So unless it's pure darkness, like total darkness, there's no light whatsoever, then okay, in that kind of scenario, I will not be able to tell the time. But even if, let's say, there's just a little bit of light, the legibility on this watch helps its user, to read the time very easily, even in the dark. Okay, unless it's a complete darkness, then okay, you cannot see it, because the lume is very poor. You can treat it as non-existent, basically. I'm not even gonna bother to show you how the lume look like on this watch, because it's just very poor. Okay, the lume. But you know what, with the legible, very legible dial like this, I mean, you don't really need the lume. And then let's talk about the diameter of the watch and the proportion. The diameter of this watch is 40 millimeter, which I think is very nice. It's not too small, it's not too big. It's still categorized as a modern size watch in the 40 millimeter and above. But what I like about 40 millimeter is that it's neutral size, so it's not too big, it's not too small. It's a bit classic, but it can be modern at the same time. 40 millimeter is nice. For me, I have a 6.3 inches wrist, and 40 millimeter is definitely a sweet spot for me. Between 38 to 40 millimeter, I can wear it, with nice proportion. And the proportion of this watch is quite special, because not only this is 40 millimeter, but then if you look at the thickness, guys, the thickness is only 11 millimeter. So as for comparison, like Rolex Explorer, Rolex Submariner, very famous model from Rolex, their thickness is about 12 millimeter. So this one actually beat Rolex Explorer or Rolex Submariner by 1 millimeter. So the watch is actually quite thin, which is very good. I mean, if you like thin watches, this is actually a very good watch. I mean, it's quite thin, but it's not, but at the same time, it's not too thin. Okay, it's not like a dress watch, which is like, which can be like 10 millimeter or below, like Jaeger Ultra, so it's not that thin, but at the same time, it's not thick. It's really far from being thick. The 11 millimeter is quite respectable. Okay, me, I have a very weird preference. After I got my Tudor Black Bay GMT back then, about a few months back, which I have sold, I really like a little bit of beefy watch, with a presence. So a little bit of thickness is very welcome, in my world. But then I know a lot of people who actually prefer thin watches, because it's very more comfortable. I mean, when you put it on your wrist. So if you're this kind of person, I mean, you will definitely like this one, because the thickness is only 11 millimeter, so which is fairly thin and very respectable in my opinion. So yeah, so the lock to lock is about 50 millimeter. I didn't measure it, but that's what I read from the online, and I'm sharing with you. It's 50 millimeter, and it's actually quite long, guys. So the lock to lock, the lock to lock of this watch is not too good, I would say, because 50 millimeter, it's quite ridiculous, some people find, because the dial is actually quite small, 40 millimeter for some people, even though for me it's perfect. But then because the lock to lock length of this watch is 50 millimeter, so even though the dial is actually quite small, 40 millimeter, but then with the long lock like that, the watch wears a bit bigger, than what the size indicates. And what I don't like is that because of the long lock like that, for a guy with a small wrist like me, the lock quite extends a little bit, beyond my wrist. That's what I don't really like. And you can see, like, the design of the lock, it doesn't really goes down sharply, like it doesn't really hug my wrist, but then it's quite straight they have like a quite straight lock there. You can see like it's like this, it's not like it doesn't slope like the one in Omega. Omega has a very nice like slope lug, but then this one, it just protrudes straight, and I don't really like it, so the design of the lug, in my opinion, is something that I don't really like, to be honest. It's rather long, 50 millimeter lug to lug, and then also it's quite straight, so it doesn't really taper down nicely as some of the Omegas that I've owned in the past. So yeah, but the in terms of proportion, I think it's very nice for the male, and the thickness is only 11 millimeter. And then it comes to let's talk about the movement, guys. So the this one comes with I forget what the IWC call for they call it like caliber or something. It's total nonsense, but basically they equip this watch with ETA 2892, high grade though, high grade. A lot of people bash IWC, and I went over this before, I think, in the past. A lot of people bash IWC for using ETA based movement on their watches, in the past. I mean, even though this in the past few years, I noticed that they started to put in-house movement in some of the models, like Big Pilot, and then I forget what else, but yeah, they have some they start putting in like in-house movement into their watches, but this one still comes with ETA 2892, which even though but it's high grade, it's a high grade ETA 2892. And I gotta tell you, a lot of people bash IWC because that I used to be that kind of person, and I think they overcharge their customers. But then I gotta tell you this, guys, even though this one comes with ETA 2892, but in my opinion, you shouldn't rule this one out, if you are interested in this model, because actually it's very, very nice to have a watch with an ETA based movement, because if you want to service this watch, it's not going to cost a lot of money, and ETA is very, very reputable. So the movement is strong, it's solid, it's been proven and tested. You don't have to worry about the movement being problematic and whatsoever. And the watch, even though it comes with the ETA based movement, but IWC, it's not like IWC just take ETA movement and insert it inside the case, but they actually modify it. So it's highly modified ETA machine, inside this watch. So I can tell you, like, one of the things that I noticed, right? See, like, I pull out a little bit of this watch, by the way, comes with a screw down crown with a water resistance of 60 meters, so you can technically swim with this, even though I don't recommend it, because for me, if you want to swim with a watch, at least you want to swim with a watch with a water resistance of at least 100 meters, but this one is only rated at 60 meters, so it's not really recommended. But one interesting thing is that even though it's only 60 meters in terms of water resistance, but then it comes with a screw down crown. So I know some other watches out there, it's rated at 100 meters, 200 meters, but it doesn't come with screw down crown, and I don't really feel that safe. So I like to swim with a watch that is rated at least at 100 meter and comes with a screw down crown. That's when I feel comfortable to go into the pool. But then this one only 60 meters, but it comes with a screw down crown. So if you ask me, yes, it can take water. I think if you swim with it, it will be fine, but I will not recommend it. And and back to the movement again, guys. This one, you can see, like, because it's highly modified, right? You see, when I don't know if you can hear it, I don't think you can, but when I wind it's buttery smooth. It's insane. Like, I have owned quite a lot of watches in the past, and I can tell you, like, when I wind my Rolex, the winding was quite nice. Okay, it's buttery smooth, but this one, actually, it feels sort of like Rolex. This goes to show that, even though this one comes with an ETA based move, but it's not like, IWC just take like a garbage ETA and put it. No, no, no. Some people just bash IWC, but they don't really have direct experience with a watch. But I can tell you, the attention to detail, and it goes to the machine itself. I mean, how I wind this, the experience of winding this watch is very, very positive. It's smooth. It's very smooth. So it makes me, it's like a basically it's like in-house, if you don't even know, like if they don't even tell you like this is ETA based movement, I mean you wouldn't know. So it's very good. It winds very smoothly, and also in terms of accuracy, right? It's very accurate as well. It still runs, even though again, this is not an in-house movement, but in terms of accuracy, it's actually very good. Mine lose about, if I wear it every day, mine lose about minus 5 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds a day. But this watch, is from year 2016, so I've, it's been 5 years. But I'm very, very sure if I service this watch, I mean, this will achieve COSC, super COSC chronometer standard, for the accuracy. I don't think it will be a problem. So this one runs, I lose about minus 6 seconds a day. But I know a lot of I've read a lot of reviews outside, for some of the owners outside, when they own this watch, they get about, plus 2 plus 3 seconds a day. So accuracy is very good, guys. That's what I want to tell you basically from this watch. And then yeah, so final verdict, guys, what I want to tell you is that this watch, maybe I will just summarize, okay, to close this review. I mean, what do I like about this watch and what I don't like, what can be improved. And after that, I will give you my final thought. So what I like about this watch is that first, the dial, I think is very, very legible. And I also like how iconic the watch is. It has a very rich history, again dated back to 1948. And with a simple dial like this, it will age very, very well. That's what I like the most from this watch. So the dial is very beautiful. It looks sterile at first. Like I have to be honest, after I, when I grabbed this watch, the first 1 week, I didn't really like it. To be honest, I find it very boring. But then it grew on me. Because the watch, even though it's simple, very, very simple, and some people find it too simple probably, but I feel that the beauty is actually lies in its simplicity. So it's very simple, but it's very beautiful at the same time, and it will age well, and it's iconic. So what more can you want? So if you have like if you like iconic watches, so maybe you have a collection of like Rolex Mariner, Rolex Explorer, Omega Speedmaster, Breitling Aviation, the Navy timer. I mean, this is something that you can consider. I mean, to add into your collection. I think it will blend in very nicely with a lot of your other watches, iconic watches. So I think it stands well against a lot of other iconic watches out there, like Explorer, Navy timer. What else? Omega Speedmaster. So I think this is a very nice offering from IWC. So that's what I like about it. So very simple, very legible. It will age well, very iconic. That's the plus point. Okay, and it's very very legible to the point that I can go inside the room, with almost no light whatsoever. But I can still see the time very easily. So that's what I like. And then in terms of proportion, I think it's very nice. It's quite thin at 11 millimeter. I think that's a plus point. Even though to me, that's not really, I prefer to be a little bit thicker. But I know it's actually a plus point. It's not easy, guys, to create a watch with only 11 millimeter thickness. It's easy to make thicker watch, but it's not easy to make it thin. So I have to respect IWC to achieve 11 millimeter in terms of thickness. So yeah, that's pretty much what I like about the watch. But what I don't like about this watch, and I think something that can be improved, is that the lock to lock length of this watch. I think it's a little bit too long, 50 millimeter. Even though it's not really a problem, but if they make it shorter and they design it to be, like quite down sharply, I think that will be better than this one. This one is kind of like straight, very very straight. So I find the design of the lock is quite, it can be improved. Okay, that's what I want to say. It's not really a deal breaker, but I think it can be improved. And then also, the other thing that I don't like from this watch is that if you look, since I know this is relatively a entry level IWC. So if you see like the crystal that they use for this model, right? I don't really like it. So look at this, guys. So this is a black dial, right? So if I go like this, there you can see it's actually a black dial watch. You can see it like it's very black. But when I go like this, and then you see like a little bit of light, hitting the dial, you can see like the crystal reflect like a blue hue, like a dark blue tone. So I don't, you can see it, guys. You can see it, right? So see, like it's like it's a black dial, but it's bluish. Because of the crystal that they use. I don't really appreciate that. So I don't know what kind of crystal they put on. But I used to own IWC Echo Timer, which I've sold, and then after that I got the money, and then after that I use it to purchase this one. The dial on the Aqua Timer, the crystal that they use for that model IWC was very, very good. It was very clear. There was no problem like this. There was no blue tone whatsoever from the dial, because the crystal that they used was, I believe, more superior. But this one has like this blue reflection that just, sometimes this is one of the reasons why it drove me crazy. Like after I bought this watch, the first 1 week I hated it. I was like, man, this is, it's a black dial watch, but I feel like when I see the dial, it feels like a blue watch. I didn't like it. That's because of the crystal that they use. So yeah, if they use more superior crystal, I think that would be better. But yeah, it is what it is. But now I start to come into terms with this. I feel like, okay, this is something that I can live with. But it's definitely something that that's one of my gripes on about this watch. And then the second one is that the AR coating that they use on the crystal again. So IWC is kind of like Omega, so they coat the dial inside and outside. And then for this one, the coating is quite poor, I would say. So you can see like me filming with my camera. You can see it from the dial. If you look at straight, you can see me like you can see my reflection there. I mean, see me with my camera recording the video. This is something that you will not see, with my other watches, in the past that I've owned. Normally they come with a better coating than this one. So you will not be able to see a reflection when I do a review. You will not see me holding my camera doing a review, from the dial. You cannot see it, but this one, because they use because the coating that they use is quite bad, you can see the reflection. That's also something that I feel IWC could have done better. So yeah, but guys, other than those two points, actually this is a very, very nice watch. But I tell you what my gripe is about this watch, because if you are a potential buyer, you are interested in getting this watch, I have to be fair. I have to tell you what I don't like. So this is something that you can consider. Okay guys, so yeah, that has been my review of this watch. But overall, I will say this is a very good watch, very nice watch. And especially if you if you want to buy this, since this one has been released since 2016, right? So actually, you can buy pre-owned as well. I believe you can get a great deal on the pre-owned market. If you buy it new, it's quite expensive, but if you buy pre-owned, I think it's definitely worth it. Because it's iconic. I think it will age well. I think the design is very, very nice. So yeah, guys, that has been my review of this Mark 18. Some of the things I don't like from this watch, but overall, I think it's a very, very nice watch. I like the design. I like the simplicity, and I think it will age beautifully. In the years to come. Okay, guys, that has been the review of Mark 18 from IWC. I really hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.